In Activity 12, Weather Maps, students learn to interpret and make their own weather maps. They first examine a weather page and discuss the kinds of information it provides. Students then learn that symbols are simple pictures used to represent something, and finally make a weather map using some common weather symbols. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 12, United States Outline Maps, United States Outline Map laminated, Weather Symbols Chart, and a package of erasable markers. You will also need to provide assorted colored pencils and weather pages. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 12 for each student. Students will also need a new United States outline map and some colored pencils. On the day of the activity, have students bring a weather page to class. The page should provide both local and national weather forecasts and should use symbols to communicate information. Make sure to display the laminated wall map where students can see it. For this activity, you will also need some erasable markers and the weather symbols chart. To begin the activity, have students examine the weather page from the newspaper. Ask students, what kind of information does this section of the newspaper provide? Students should respond that the newspaper provides information about the weather, both locally and in other parts of the country and the world. Note that the headings Regional Forecast, National Forecast, and Extended Forecast may appear on the page, and that cities near the coast may also include a marine forecast on their weather page. Inform students that a forecast is a weather prediction and ask, what is a regional forecast? A national forecast? Explain to the class that a regional forecast is a prediction of what the weather will be like locally in your region. A national forecast is a prediction of what the weather will be like in different places across the nation. Then ask, what is an extended forecast? Help students understand that an extended forecast is a prediction of what the weather will be like several days from now. Ask students if they know who makes weather forecasts. Students may associate weather forecasting with the weather person on television, who may or may not be a weather scientist. Accept all reasonable answers. Then ask, does anyone know what a meteorologist is? Students may be familiar with TV or radio meteorologists, professional weather watchers who provide the information that goes on weather maps. By studying the weather conditions in different parts of the country and understanding how weather moves from place to place, meteorologists can predict with reasonable accuracy what the weather will be like in a certain place at a certain time. Next, turn students' attention to the map on the weather page and point out pictures that appear on the map. Define the word symbol for students as a simple picture used to stand for or represent something. Ask students, what are some of the symbols on this map, and what do they stand for or represent? Answers will vary depending on your local paper. However, most national weather maps use symbols to represent sky conditions, precipitation such as rain or snow, and lightning storms and hurricanes. Inform students that temperature may be represented by numbers or by bands of color. Next, distribute a copy of Activity Sheet 12 and some colored pencils to each student, and instruct students to practice drawing some of these symbols on their activity sheets. Post the weather symbols chart and review it as a class. Then, tell students to imagine that they are meteorologists preparing a weather map. Using the symbols on the weather chart, guide students through the map-making process using the laminated wall map and erasable markers, and by providing today's actual weather conditions. When students have finished, review the completed weather maps as a class. Ask students, what do you notice about the weather across the United States? Then, ask specific questions about the weather in certain areas of the country, such as, where is it hottest? Where is it coldest? How should people in Chicago dress today? In which two cities is visibility likely to be poor? Finally, ask, what time of year do you think this is? Students should know that it is probably summer since the temperatures are relatively warm. Also, summertime is when hurricanes, tornadoes, and thunderstorms are most likely to occur. Remind students of how wind carries weather from place to place. Then instruct students to choose a city, decide which way the wind is blowing, and then make an extended forecast. For example, if it is raining in Chicago and the winds are blowing toward the east, students should understand that it is probably going to rain in Boston within the next few days. Ask students, why do people read weather maps or listen to the weather report on television or radio? Inform students that people like to know what the weather is going to be so they can plan their activities, plan what they will wear, and so on. Students should also realize that if people are given advance warning of severe weather, they will be able to take steps to stay safe. Finally, Ask students to study their maps and encourage them to say where they would like to be right now and why. To conclude the activity, leave the weather symbols chart and the laminated wall map in place. Each day, you could have students monitor the weather around the country and record their findings on the map. You could also use a different color marker each day to show how weather moves across the country. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.